Hello, and welcome back to American Aupair Host Mom. First, I just want to thank all my subscribers and all of you who are continuing to listen and enjoy the material. If you're new, I'd love for you to go check out some of my other videos and like, subscribe, and comment. I would really love to hear what you all are thinking and maybe talk about some of the other topics that you'd love to hear. So today, we're going to be talking about what it's like to have a stranger in your house. No, I really don't feel like I've had strangers in my house, but it is the number one question I get from other prospective host parents and just other adults who hear what I do and wonder, how can you stand that? Isn't that weird? So we're going to get to that. But first, want to share with you some of the stories that are pretty entertaining or funny. Make for some really interesting dinner conversations. But now looking back, they're pretty funny. At the time, they probably weren't. But I think these experiences I'm about to share with you are what prepared me to be open to the Aupair program and to make sure that I was ready and knowing what to expect, how to onboard, and therefore ended up with the rockstar Aupair that I have today. And I really don't have any crazy Aupair stories at the moment. I'm not saying I never will, because I've only had one to date. She's been with me for a little over a year now. But what I have had is I have opened up my home for the last 18 years to college-aged engineering intern students who work at a former company of mine. Now, most of these students are pre-screened by that large Fortune 500 company. They are super smart. Most of them come from really good families. So I want to share these stories to let you know it's both a culture and young adult perspective, and try to share them and let you know maybe how you can better prepare when you bring a young adult into your home. So one of the first young ladies that I had in my home, she wasn't the first, but close to, so it was a long time ago. Very sweet young lady. In fact, I love talking to her and having her as a friend, but I did not love having her in my home. And this probably could have been avoided by a lot better communication and upfront onboarding on my part. But here's the fun story. I had just graduated from college and bought my first brand new home, and me and my husband had just renovated our basement, made a nice bedroom and bathroom down there that this young lady was staying in. Now, to preface, she was from China but had been getting her PhD here in America for a few years already, so she was used to living in America at this point, and I really had no intro or introduction to having Chinese people live with me. And in this scenario, I don't think this is all Chinese people. I think this is just another one of not used to certain situations, not communicating. But super sweet. Went out to dinner one day, my cell phone was dead, and when I come home, I hear screaming from my basement. Run down there, and not kidding you, I jumped into a pool of water about this thick all the way across my basement. My brand new basement, brand new carpeting. Was not happy. Meanwhile, my young intern was down there screaming, "It smells, help, help!" And as we investigated the situation, we began to wiggle our sump pump, and all the water started going back down into the sump pump. With further investigation, what we found actually happened is that a shower cap had somehow ended up down inside this sump pump. Now, this sump pump only fed to this young lady's bathroom, which is inside her room. She's the only one in there. It was a small bathroom, and like a lot of ladies, we have a lot of care products, and she was no exception. So she used the back of her toilet to hold a lot of her stuff. So still to this day, don't have the exact story, but I suspect that she accidentally tipped that shower cap into the toilet, flushed it down. It got stuck over our sump pump, and inevitably over time, as she continued to shower and use the toilet, filled up and flooded my brand new basement. So yeah, we were able to clean it up. I did have to stay up all night with my husband. We rented a water vac and a bunch of dehumidifiers and went around with towels, and we did recover. And in the meantime, our poor little intern was sitting there and saying, I don't know what happened. The water just started coming and it smelled. And, you know, my mom says these things just happen to me. And I sat there sadly. I was like, your mom is right. But, you know, in retrospect, trying to communicate to her what that sump pump can and can't handle, and advising her to be careful about that might have been a start. This same young lady also cooked with a ton of oil. In fact, when I sold the house 3 years later, I was still scraping oil off of the hood microwave above the cooktop. When we discovered this, we actually went out and bought little frying pan covers that you can put over the frying pan as you're cooking. So I came home and I was like, hey, here, this is for you. And she was always so sweet and so thankful. So, oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I failed to communicate what these were for. She had never seen them, had no idea that anything was wrong, and didn't use them for another week until I finally realized that and explained it. So again, just points out, you really need to communicate everything that you are expecting them to know. Let's see, I had another group later on in my years when we moved to our new house that we're in now. And I had just finished the basement again. Maybe I shouldn't have finished basements, huh? And this is before I had kids, I should also clarify. But we did allow our interns to have small gatherings in our basement. We had a pretty nice play game set up, and often enjoyed their company. Usually a lot of smart young people that we enjoyed meeting anyway. And we trusted our interns to be responsible. Well, one night they were having one of those gatherings, playing all the games in the game room downstairs. I was already upstairs getting ready for bed, but my husband happened to be up a little bit later, and all of a sudden he heard, oh, and we're like, what? So he listened a little bit longer, and he heard some strange comments like, oh my gosh, maybe we could put a sticker on it. No one's gonna know. Just go get a sticker. Look in the garage. And he runs up to me and he's like, oh my gosh, I think the interns are doing drugs or smoking marijuana or something. Maybe there's some new sticker terminology we don't understand. And I was like, this is crazy. There's no way that our smart young interns are doing that kind of thing. And so then my husband ran to the garage, started breaking down some boxes, and one of the guest interns walks in. He's like, oh, what are you doing here, sir? And he's like, oh, I'm just breaking down boxes. What are you doing? It's like, oh, nothing. We thought we left like a folding chair in here, but I guess not. We're leaving. And eventually my husband decided to stop playing games. He went downstairs and discovered that while they were playing foosball and probably had a little bit too much to drink, somebody fell into the table and the little foosball stick went through the wall, creating a small hole maybe about that big. When we discovered this, of course, all the interns were very apologetic. You know, we're so sorry. We're going to fix it. Don't worry. It's going to be fine. We decided to let them try. This was another lesson in, you know, try to understand their experience and maybe give them a little direction on how to fix things. They did it twice and the drywall job looked pretty bad. From all the way across the room, you could see the bumps in it. Eventually, we did redo this ourselves. And again, you know, things happen. Sometimes you can't avoid them. But I'd also like to point out that my interns did own up to it, and they did try to do the right thing. So, you know, just a story in the book. Another time, and during one of these small gatherings, again, before kids happened to even be there. This is when I was in my 20s, kind of enjoying some of these social gatherings. And I was getting ready to find sleeping bags and help some of the younger people who might have had a little bit too much to drink to be able to stay overnight. And all of a sudden I hear one of the interns say, oh, I can totally break dance. Watch me spin on my head. And I'd walk out just as this guy who's definitely had too much to drink spins on his head, and his leg falls down into our windowsill like a karate chop and breaks it in half. Again, immediate reaction. Everybody looks at us with this shocked look on their face, and this guy says, don't worry, I'm gonna fix it. I swear I'll pay for it. And I was like, yeah, you're definitely gonna pay for that, but it's okay. In this situation, this young man did own up to it. We actually were also already doing construction at the time, got an estimate, and he totally paid for it. So in the end, it was actually okay. Again, just good communication, understanding things happen. I also had different things happen, like, again, just, young adults not knowing what to do. I had one young man who really loved to cook. He cooked all kinds of different things, but he would cut his tomatoes or vegetables in half and then just place them back in the fridge, and juice would go all over the place. Wouldn't ever wrap anything or put anything in containers. And this was easily fixed by a conversation. We showed him what saran wrap was and the fact that, you know, things are better preserved in containers and helps keep things right. And that was actually a fixable situation. So in the long run, really just fine. Also, just different expectations of living in the North versus living in the South. If you live in the northern United States, you're probably not used to the kind of bugs we have here in the South. They're bigger and they're more active. We do spray our house twice a year, but you know, occasionally there is a roach. And I have had some young ladies who are screaming at the top of their lungs on top of the bed, and then demand after the experience that we need to hire an exterminator or they are out of here. You know, not perfect situations, but upfront warnings now. I let people know that, hey, you know, we keep things clean, and our reason maybe not to eat in your room and to clean up after yourselves, and you know, we're gonna spray, but bugs happen. So you know, there's various experiences that I've had over the years. I actually had another young man who, for 3 or 4 months living with me, was fine, and then one night I come in and the floor is white and shiny. I thought, gosh, the moon's really shining on my floor nicely tonight. And then when I turned on the light, I was horrified to see that my dishwasher was overflowing with suds. And the suds had filled my entire kitchen hardwood floor, which at this point was only like 6 months old. I immediately opened up the dishwasher to stop it. It would not stop beeping. It wanted to keep going, so I eventually had to cut the power to the kitchen, put a sign in the kitchen, don't use kitchen, we're fixing this. Everybody in my household knew who it was, but to this guy's credit, he immediately did admit it the next day, and his reasoning here was that I usually, for my dishwasher, buy those little pods that you put in there, and for hand washing, I buy the liquid. Well, this young man was used to that, and one day when I ran out of pods and didn't know it, he just assumed I cheaped out and was using the liquid for the dishwasher, so that's what he did. Again, this situation mostly was fine. We cleaned it up. It was a late night trying to figure out how to get everything to get back to normal, but it was recoverable and, you know, ideal, since the young man did admit to it. So I think, you know, all these stories just really point out that you need to communicate expectations, let them know not to be scared when something happens, that, you know, yeah, sometimes they're going to have to pay or help fix something, but that you're going to respect them for that, and that you're going to work through it together, and everybody's still learning life, and that's okay. On the other hand, I really want to also point out that I am a social person. I have highly enjoyed having not only interns and now my au pair in my house, and the flip side is I've had amazing experiences. I've had the joy of a lot of these interns growing up, marrying, having their own families, having them come back and visit, and getting to see how they've grown up. I've actually had an apology letter once, which was pretty amazing. This girl's story was she was also a bit young and naive, and decided it'd be cool to cartwheel across my pool table twice. Once after I told her not to. And about a year later, when she looked back on some of her behavior, she actually wrote me a really awesome letter that apologized for that and thanked me for being a really good host at the time with her, and looking out for her and caring for her and helping her learn how to be an independent adult. So that was really gratifying. I've also had more recently, I had one intern who was super caring for my kids. It wasn't even her job to care for my kids, but she loved kids. She'd actually had a lot of daycare experience and liked to talk about that. We often went out to dinner together. We shared and confided in each other a lot. Even when she left, I continued to talk to her to find out like what her other intern experiences are and see her grow up. I had another intern also with when my first baby was born. She begged me to babysit. I was actually terrified, but she was the first like young adult that I let stay with my child, and she was amazing. She also, for free, brought her friend out and did baby photo shoots for us. So, you know, there's a lot of love most of the time if you communicate right. And you know, and then reliving new experiences through young people's eyes is also really cool. My current au pair had never seen snow, and I also can understand that. I grew up in Florida. I never saw snow until I was, I think, 21 years old. So I can appreciate those who haven't. And we had one day of snow last year, thank gosh, that my au pair got to see. And it was super cool and fun to see her like running around just as excited as my kids to go out and play and have a snow day. Same thing with any of the cool new attractions or city stuff that we've enjoyed, seeing her enjoy it for the first time and appreciating it. That has been super fun. And then being a confidant to some of these young people and a mentor. Had a young intern one time who, he was really cute. He'd sit down and say, I have this friend who likes this girl and I'm wondering what he should do. Of course, he was really talking about him, but it was okay. We went through that. I got to see him grow up. He's married with a baby now, super cute. Love all of those experiences. So, it's a give and take. Yeah, there's some things that are going to happen. The more you communicate, the more you show them how to do the right things, the better it's going to be. And the more and faster you onboard and put work in, that stranger is not going to be a stranger. I hope this has been helpful, that you've enjoyed hearing these stories. Let me know, and let me know if you have your own stories. I'd love to hear. And again, if you've enjoyed this, help me help you get this out to more people and have YouTube algorithm like it. Please subscribe, like, and comment. And thank you again.